Well, it is the beginning of the new year, and that means also taking a look at the people we lost in 2013. The world lost some spectacular talents this past year, from a leader who reshaped South Africa politics to wonderful artists and performers. Talk about some of the folks that we did lose this year. Obviously, we just looked at we were just covering last week the funeral of Nelson Mandela. Certainly one of the great leaders there, but also Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, we forget that in the beginning of the year. We also said goodbye to her, and obviously some many talented actors as well, including James Gandolfini in the beginning of the year as well. Just when you look back on this, I always find this to be like the most poignant part of the end of the new year, and kind of a sad part. Like in the Oscars, they do this as well.
Right.
But just in terms of some of the greats that we say goodbye to and what they meant to you. Anybody want to take this? I'll throw it out to all of you.
Oh, I think the standout is Mandela. And as Obama said in the funeral speech, he makes me want to be a better man. And that's exactly how I feel about Mandela. He really put himself out there as an example of how we can have more compassion and be, stick to our guns and take a cause on and be willing to die for it.
Yeah, I think the thing about Mandela that's so spectacular is that we don't need history to make a determination on him. It's already been made, and it's just plain greatness, because he was against racism and bias from the beginning, and that's what he will go down in history for accomplishing.
And his passing wasn't necessarily sad in the terms of that he was a 95-year-old man. And I think that when we saw the celebrations in South Africa and throughout the world, there was more of a celebration of life. So
yes.
It wasn't as sad. Dee Dee, how about you in terms of any of the leaders that passed this year?
Well, I'm a much bigger fan of Margaret Thatcher, so thank you for bringing that up than Mandela. This was the Iron Lady. I mean, she did so much. It was wonderful to see a woman and be in a position like that. And she was tough.
I agree with you in terms of seeing a woman of that.
Mm-hmm. And this is what I like about her, too. She was a friend to our country. She and Ronald Reagan were very good friends. Mandela is always anti-U.S. So I think Margaret Thatcher probably didn't get enough attention, actually. I think she's just was a wonderful leader.
I agree with Dee Dee on how she presented herself, and her real place in history, I think, is wonderful. But I don't see the other thing about Mandela being negative towards America, because we had our own. He had problems with us because we had a racist bias in this country. So that's what happened.
No, don't fret. I think in 2016 you're going to get a chance to see a strong woman run a country again.
Oh, well, we'll see about that. Yeah. We don't know. We'll see about that. I think the governor of New Jersey might have something to say about that.
Well, let's talk about some of the celebrities also. James Gandolfini, of course, for the folks around the world that are watching us here on Fresh Outlook, we are broadcast here in New Jersey, speaking of Governor Christie, but also speaking of James Gandolfini, the actor. And it was such an enormous loss in this particular area, but certainly on the Hollywood front as well.
Yeah, I think the personality that he projected was so spectacular, and it was so interesting for all of us to watch on screen, and I think that he goes down in history as somebody who we really could relate to in a very odd number of ways, And
he actually went to school with my cousin, but I wanted to ask you a question about that, Dr. Bart. Sometimes when you see like the big guys go down, and when get real sick or get or as in his case, he had a heart attack. I think that's hard for people to grasp, because he was such this huge character.
Bigger than life character, and then he's gone in a second. That's a good point, because that's tough for us to handle. I mean, we don't know how to relate to that. And I think that's part of this whole picture with his death, is that how do we really understand that happening? You're right.
And also with Cory Montheid, the young actor, he had the drug problem, and obviously, he passed away this year as well. But in terms of having a young person die, that's obviously very difficult as well. But that certainly, the younger folks in the 20s were just devastated by that.
Yeah, they were. I mean, and obviously when young people die early. It's just so upsetting. I mean, it really is. And whenever people you feel close to, and young people, obviously they felt the same way. More so that like we did with James Gandolfini. Now they may have been a Tony Soprano fan, but probably more Cory Montheid. But it's it's hard for them. It's very hard for young people because they think they're invincible. So when a young person dies, it's just jolting.
And also we said goodbye to. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I just like to see more on the addiction problem come out of that. Where people could understand that we have a serious addiction problem in this country. It needs to be addressed.
I think that's a great point too, because he was glorified to a certain sense, and
I didn't think that was right.
And he was glorified to a certain sense. There was a big issue. I believe it was the one of the award shows,
Academy Awards.
The Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And
they honored him and some others that should have been honored, and they didn't. It was very strange.
Also, Tom Clancy, one of my favorite writers. Just any thoughts about any favorite books of his?
Actually, I'm trying. What was the movie with Ben Affleck? Remind me. Do you know which one Ben Affleck starred in?
That was based on a Clancy novel?
Yeah. Well, anyway, I can't remember the name of it, but we did a movie screening at the White House. That's part of my job, the movie screenings, and met him. And he was so nice. He was so down to earth. Everyone loved him. He was great. But I can't remember the name of the movie. I remember him better than the movie.
Well, that's good, though. That's
very nice man.
But we also said, as we said goodbye to many people, let's also remember, and I know, Dee Dee, I lived in London for 4 years.
Oh, no, here we go.
We did have the huge story of the year with reporters, camping out in front of the palace to find out when the royal prince was going to be born. It was a huge story of 2013.
But
and it was
why?
a happy.
Yeah, I don't
understand. To be the king.
No, but Dee Dee and I are just very happy that it makes you happy.
Yes, that's true. I'm glad somebody is, because I don't get it, that's for sure. Woohoo, guess what? I got the best bloodline in the world. I don't have to work ever again. Ken never has to work. Talk about welfare.
That's
That's kind of a cool thing, though, like to dream through the prince.
I think so. I think that's what captivates us, really. We think about this as what kind of a life is this going to be? What's going to happen here? And we all can kind of fantasize and get away from our everyday thoughts and processes, when we think of something like that.
Now I'm going to ask you, well, there they are right there. And I think also from my standpoint also, because I was in London and you watched Prince William and Harry grow up. And even like when I look back on Prince Charles, I mean, you saw him get married. I mean, you really kind of grew up with the family. I mean, those weddings are fantastic.
They are. They are.
Well, I think that's great, but they should pay for their own way. That's all I'm saying. And you can have a great wedding, you can have the cards, you can have the castles, but heck, they should pay their own way like we do. We're having to pinch every penny, and guess what they get? Because they got the blue blood.
No, but there are people in England who they think that what you just said is horrific. It's
Blasphemy.
a sin. Blasphemy, of course.
Yeah, but I'm with Dee Dee on that.
Yeah, all American girl.
I'm saying blasphemy.
Yeah. But it makes you happy.
That's why we fought that revolutionary war.
It does. Thank
Get out,
you.
King.
That's all it
Get
counts.
the heck out, King. We're not for you.
All right, now I'm going to ask you to put on your thinking caps. What was your favorite story of 2013? And I was worried about this. I'll start you off. How about that? I think some of my favorite stories, being that we are in the New York, New Jersey area, was seeing so many people get back into their homes after Sandy. Because there were so many people that we saw that had lost their homes. So I thought it touched me personally as well. So from my standpoint, it was seeing that.
I think that's probably more meaningful than what I'm going to say, but I think maybe because it's recent, but I have to say, Santa Claus is every color. He's all colors. And I find this story to be so unbelievable that somebody could actually go on air and say that Santa Claus is white. I find it a whole different psychology, actually. I find it actually fascinating as a psychologist. I really do.
And I agree with you. I think that the whole thing with her coming on and saying Santa Claus is black for you kids out home was just horrific. You probably had little kids, if they were up at that hour, running and crying to their parents. But that's not my favorite story. I really do have a favorite one, and it's Pope Francis.
Okay, well, I'm a Pope Francis fan, so.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, finally, in the Catholic Church, here is a leader that is washing the feet of the lepers, in other words, that they used to do in the Bible. You've got somebody who's really walking the walk of Christ, not just the talk.
Well, I'm still amazed at some of the statements that he's made. and some of the very conservative Catholics, that there hasn't been any kind of repercussion or PR.
That's a great point too, because I'm fascinated by those in the church that are dancing around the Pope, saying, well, he hasn't really changed anything. It's not really anything different. The doctrine is still the same. Well, guess what? He's really trying to make a change, and they're trying to dance around it. So I think that their behavior is really quite interesting.
I do too.
Because he is a change.
Well, and if anybody had said anything like that previously in prior years, I don't think that they would have been able to. So it's very interesting to watch. Dee Dee, favorite story of 2013.
I feel so bad saying this, but I have to. My favorite stories are Wiener and Rob Ford and the funny people, the characters, like you say. They're my favorite stories because they're so hilarious. I mean, the gift that keeps giving.
Well, we got the Toronto mayor.
Wiener was great.
Wiener said he's coming back.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
That's what
He's got his own talk show in 2014.
Rob Ford, and then when he was dancing and he mowed that lady over, I mean, he didn't get any better now. I'm sorry, but he is funny.
Well, he's given us some great material, as did Elliot Spitzer, as did Anthony Weiner.
And Elliot's got a new girlfriend now.
He does.
He's got a new, you didn't know that?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'm jealous.
You're hearing it right here on Fresh Outlook.
It's a de Blasio staffer, and she's quite the tart, they say.
Oh, my.
That could mean sweet. Tart could be a lot of things.
Right, not lemon.
Well, actually, if we go back to London, that's a very nice expression.
Yeah, way to pull the London card again. You can't get over those royals.
Well, I was over there for 4 years, so I enjoyed it. Okay, let's talk about resolutions and resolutions for yourself. And what you would like, then we'll do the next question, what you would like to see for 2014. So what are your personal resolutions? Any personal resolutions, Dee Dee?
No, I like everything. Everying's good. No, I'm kidding. No, but resolutions, I don't know. I mean, you start, I really just like having the attitude of starting with a clean slate and trying to do everything better. So there's really nothing in particular, not necessarily, just to try to do everything better. More energy. More fun.
Okay.
I'm going to get my money under control this
I know,
year.
Tom LaVecchia.
I love him.
I love his financial tips.
Right, yeah. So that's what I'm going to do.
I kind of like that one too. I think I like that one, and just to do something, like you said, positive.
I like to reboot. I just look at it as a reboot. It's like, yes, you get to start again. I just think it's exciting.
Yeah.
Day number 1.
Yeah, somebody
kind of like your birthday.
Yeah.
Kind of like your birthday.
Yeah,
exactly.
You get a
is.
reboot.
You get a gift.
Yeah, a friend of mine said that New Year's Eve is like it's everybody's birthday, and we get to have a clean slate.
I like the money idea, and I like what Tom says. I do, but I find it kind of invigorating to do more exercising and try to be healthier. And I've been trying to do more of that, and in the new year, I think I'd like to do even better than that. And I'd like to see the Democrats make something work, like Obamacare, make it work, come together. If those two parties could do that, it would be a real interesting show next year.
Okay. Jackie?
I think that's a really good idea, that we could have both forces do what they do best and come together and meld. I'd also like to see the Middle Eastern crisis clear up just a tiny bit, take a few more inches towards getting along. And I'd just like the economy to go up also.
Yeah, I think that's. I think people are feeling more positive though. Dee Dee, you get the final thoughts.
This is so easy for me. I definitely want to take back the Senate. The Republicans take over the Senate this year. That'd be really wonderful. And also would love it if Rob Ford could be on Fresh Outlook. That'd be fun.
All right, well that pretty much does it.
Hey, we are in Canada. He could, he may come over to New Jersey.
Well, we'll see if we can get him on, just for you, Dee Dee.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Well, Happy New Year to everyone. And that wraps up
too.
our final show for 2013. From Dee Dee, Dr. Bart, Jackie, and myself, and the entire Fresh Outlook crew, we wish everyone a very happy New Year, and we look forward to seeing you back here in 2014.